What would you say are some of the ingredients that make a classic television series real memorable to you and one of your all-time favorite shows? In the mix, you might include that the actors were larger than life, that the storylines were unique, sometimes even unorthodox, that some of the dialogues were unforgettable, introducing a phrase or two that we might still say today. And finally, that some of the characters added color, flavor, and humor to the series. The iconic Western series Gunsmoke resourcefully used all three of these elements during its 12-year run on CBS. No two roles added more color, flavor, and humor to the series than the gimp-legged, well-meaning sidekick Chester and the scroungy, cantankerous, hillbilly-talking Festus. Let's take a look at the actors Dennis Weaver and Ken Curtis, who aced these two unforgettable roles. William Dennis Weaver was born on June 4th, 1924, in Joplin, Missouri. From the time he was a small child, he wanted to be an actor. During his childhood, he also lived in Louisiana and in California. After high school, he returned home to attend Joplin Junior College, and then he later transferred to the University of Oklahoma in Norman. There he studied drama and was a member of the track team. He set several school records in different events. During World War II, he served as a fighter pilot for the U.S. Navy. After the war was over, he married his childhood sweetheart, Jerry Stoll. Under the name of Billy D. Weaver, he tried out for the 1948 U.S. Olympic team in the decathlon. He finished sixth in the trials, 3 spots short of making the Olympic team. After that, he decided to stay in New York and pursue an acting career. In his first Broadway role, from understudy, he eventually took over the role of Turk Fisher from Lonnie Chapman in Come Back, Little Sheba. This only made him want to be an actor even more. He enrolled in the Actors Studio. There he met Shelley Winters. In 1952, she helped him obtain a contract with Universal Studios. His film debut was in the movie The Redhead from Wyoming. Other minor movie roles followed over the next 3 years, but it was still necessary for him to work odd jobs to support his family. He was earning $60 a week delivering flowers when he landed the role of Chester Goode on the new television series Gunsmoke. Chester was the first character that they cast when they were developing the new show. Producer Norm Macdonald actually had him in mind for the role, but had trouble locating him, and he was delighted when he showed up to audition. Never having heard the radio show, he gave Chester's silly and foolish dialogue a very straightforward delivery. Disappointed in it, the producer stated that he was hoping that he would have brought some humor to the role. Weaver then remembered a boy from school that he used to tease because he had a thick Kentucky accent. He remembered how his friends used to laugh when he would do an impression of him, so he decided to apply that to the role. He went back to read again, and the producer and his team went to the floor laughing, and Weaver could actually hardly get through the read himself. The Stiff Leg Limp were developed when producers worried that the audience wouldn't buy into Chester being Marshall Dillon's sidekick. Why wouldn't Chester be fighting and wearing a gun as well? The producer came up with this solution. He asked Weaver to develop a handicap for his character, something that would explain why he was the sidekick, not the sheriff. Weaver came up with the idea of the stiff leg and the limp himself. After some practicing and testing of the idea, he showed it to the producer, who took very little notice to it and simply said, "That's fine." He therefore concluded that it would have not really mattered what handicap he came up with. After 9 seasons and 290 episodes, Dennis Weaver was ready to move on from the role of Matt Dillon's sidekick, Chester Goode. He had won an Emmy for the role in 1959. He now was wanting to broaden his career in both television and films. His next significant role was as Tom Weedlow in the CBS series Gentle Ben. That ran from 1967 to 1969. The following year, he landed the title role in NBC's McCloud, for which he received 2 Emmy Award nominations. The show was about a modern Western lawman from New Mexico who ends up in New York City. Dennis Weaver passed away from complications related to cancer in Ridgway, Colorado on February 24th, 2006. Now that's the very same day that we lost the memorable actor Don Knotts. Now on to Ken Curtis. He was born Curtis Wayne Gates, July 2nd, 1916, in Lamar, Colorado. When he was age 10, his family moved about 40 miles west from where he was born, where his father ran for sheriff. His father won the position and served from 1927 to 1931. Family actually lived on the first floor, with the jail being above them on the second floor. His mother would regularly cook meals for the prisoners. It was during these years that the young Curtis observed and became familiar with one regular prisoner in his father's jail. He was a local man known as Cedar Jack. He made his living by cutting cedar fence posts for the local farmers and ranchers. Many a trip into town, he would wind up in jail. Here Curtis had the opportunity to listen to his nasally, twangy voice and take note of his mannerisms. It was these impressions that were in later years incorporated into the role of Festus Haggen. Ken was the quarterback of his high school football team, and he also played the clarinet in the band. During World War II, he served in the U.S. Army from 1943 to 1945. He was actually a singer before he became an actor. Once he began acting in films, he was able to combine the two. He was with the Tommy Dorsey Band in 1941. After Frank Sinatra left as the vocalist, he filled in until another vocalist was contractually signed. And it was Tommy Dorsey who suggested that he change his name to Ken Curtis. He became a featured singer of the country music radio show WWVA Jamboree, and from 1949 to 1952, he was the lead singer of the Sons of the Pioneers. He signed a contract with Columbia Pictures in 1945. He starred in many musical westerns with the Hoosier Hotshots, playing a singing cowboy. Through his second marriage, he became a son-in-law to the renowned film director John Ford. This led to many roles in Western films, most notably Rio Grande, The Searchers, The Alamo, and How the West Was Won. He also guest starred on several television series, including, Gunsmoke. Festus Haggen was introduced to the Gunsmoke audience in an episode called Us Haggens in 1962. He arrives in Dodge City to avenge the death of his twin brother. He occasionally returned to Gunsmoke in various other roles. Director Andrew McLaglen worked with Curtis in these episodes. In 1957, he had also directed him in an episode of Have Gun Will Travel. He felt that Curtis would be perfect in developing this character, Festus. So upon Dennis Weaver leaving the show, Festus was slowly phased in as a reliable sidekick and part-time deputy to Matt Dillon. The year was 1965. For over 300 episodes, Ken Curtis faithfully portrayed the mangy, hick-yapping deputy Marshal Festus Haggen. His last acting role was as an aging cattle rancher named Seaborn Tay in the television production of Conager in 1991. Ken Curtis passed away on April 28, 1991, in his sleep from a heart attack in Fresno, California. Dennis Weaver and Ken Curtis, your portrayals of these two characters have made them utterly unforgettable. Can we not still hear both of them addressing the marshal, Chester going, "Mr. Dillon, Mr. Dillon," and Festus saying, "Matthew, Matthew"? Thank you both for entertaining us those 20 seasons of Gunsmoke. and for keeping those characters alive and well in our memories today. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll keep chasing the classics.